Hey guys, Kim here, aka Mama Sugar Bee. I am in the process of making vinegar, and I thought, hey, I should film this. So, those of you who'd like to make your own vinegar, you can see how it is. Now, some of you are probably thinking, wait a minute, who is this woman? Here I am. Oh, maybe that's it. I'll see it in a minute. Let me flip this around. Hold on. There we go. Oh my gosh, you guys. Let me see. I got to remember back and front. There we go. shoppaparazzipremiere.com/Mama Sugar Bee. That's where you usually see me selling jewelry, but I do other stuff. So let me just see if I can pull that back. There we go. I'm on Facebook, 10 a.m. Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday. That's 10 a.m. Central. And on TikTok, Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, 8 o'clock p.m. Central. Okay, so let me show you what I've got going here. I've already started on 2 of my jars. First thing I do is I fill up jars. I usually leave like 2 empty. Now this is making a lot of vinegar. You may not need near this many. But I set them out, and then you see I have them covered. Those are just like coffee filters. You could use, gauzy cloth, whatever. And I let them sit out for a couple of days, 2 or 3 days, just because it's just tap water. So I want to get all those chemicals, just kind of going away from the tap water. So that's what I do first. Then get everything together. And all you need are apples. I also have a few pears. Got apples there. I got the vast majority of the apples from my neighbor's apple tree. Oh, got gnats all over them too. And so you need that. Yes, you do need tape and a marker. And this is just because this just helps remind me. Let me move this out of the way. Let me move this one out of the way so you can see. So starting today, which is the 16th, so for 2 weeks, you stir twice a day your apple mixture. Then you let it sit for 4 weeks without stirring. Then you let it sit for 4 months. So I always just put these on. So when 9/30 comes, September 30th, I just pull that off. And then I know the next time I need to do something, I pull that off. That's a great way to do it. You only need to mark 1 jar because all the jars are the same. So I'm going to get you over here to I'm going to prop you up so you can see what I'm doing. And then I'm going to talk you through this. Okay. So let me get it turned again. Oh, here's the recipe. Apple cider vinegar. Let me, put that there. Nope, that's not going to work. Oh, that could get wet. There it is. That's how I do it. 1 gallon filtered water. 1 cup cane sugar, and make sure you use cane sugar. And when you're using the cane sugar, it can be, just pure cane sugar. It can be the granulated, or it can be the more not refined. Okay, so either one, it doesn't matter. Just cane sugar, not some of your sugars are like beet sugars and stuff. Use the cane sugar. So you need the water, there we go, the cane sugar, and the apples. So you cut your apples, fill the jar, and like I say, I'm making 1 gallon jars, and I got these jars at Walmart, except for that one over there. I know where that came from. Anyway, so those are gallon jars just from Walmart. Oh, let me show you. My husband cut out the centers for me on the, they came with the lids, and he just cut those out in his shop. So if you're doing that, be very careful because those are sharp edges. Then I just have coverings. Sometimes it's that, sometimes that. This is very forgiving. It's not precise. You just do it. You add the cut apples 1/2 to 3/4 full. Add the sugar to the jar. Fill the jar to top with water. And I usually come up to, just right here. So that leaves about 1 inch of space, just because you're going to have bubbling and stuff. Okay. Stir it twice a day for 2 weeks. That's what my first tape is. Then let sit for 4 weeks without stirring. Now, I do not put mine in a dark closet or dark cabinets. Mine just sit on my counter. They are out of direct sunlight. See, there's a window there, and then there's a window there. So they're out of direct sunlight, but they are just on the counter. So no problem with that. It works just fine. Then after 4 weeks without stirring, you're going to strain the apples, the SCOBY, the mother, whatever's in there that needs strained. Pour the liquid into jars, cover with your cloth again, and then let it sit for 4 months, and then it is ready to use. Oh, I should have got one of mine out. Hold on. This is my storage ones that I have. So this is from last year. And yes, it has stuff on the bottom. You just shake it, and it's great. Much better than the store-bought stuff. So you just shake it, use it as you would any apple cider vinegar. Not for cleaning, but for cooking, for drinking. You can see I've got a few back there. So, and the reason you're thinking, why? What a minute. Ooh, boy, it's been too around. Let me get this turned around. There we go. If you're thinking, hey, why is she already making more when she has that much? It takes, 5 months or so to get it all going. So you need to do it in advance and work out. And plus, I always like to have extra vinegar when I'm doing it. Okay, so all we do, you saw my apples. Let me show you these close-up apples. Hang on. Let me turn it one moment. I mean, they're sad looking. These are from my neighbor's trees. They don't spray. And these apples have been sitting a bit. So that one's totally gone. They've been sitting a bit. I should have done this last week. I went and picked. So you can see they're not clean. You don't wash them. You just use them. Those are from my neighbor's trees, but those are too. See, so there's better ones. And then I had a few from my tree, so I grabbed those. And then those pears were also from my neighbor's trees. Okay, so you can see you're not using prime apples for this. Does that show that? Let's see. Woo, I think so. Okay, I'm just propping that up. You're not using prime apples. That's not what's there for. I don't wash them. Now, if I see really bad grub on them, I might give them a little scrub like that. But otherwise, they are what they are. You want to keep the flora, there's natural yeast and stuff. You want to keep that to help get your stuff going. Now, on the inside, if they're totally yucky, or kind of yucky if you don't like doing that, I just, but I'm not cleaning these that well. They just go in. So you fill up your jar. I'm going to be filling this jar. I kind of get some good apples. You can do this with apples. You can do it. That's one of my lids coming down. You can do it with, okay, see, let me show you this apple. See how it's mushy down at the bottom? So I'll just kind of cut the mushy part off. Nothing too exciting. Nothing too exciting. Drop it in. Maybe get a little bit of that mushy off. But these are not pristine apples. And you don't need to worry about that. You will find that because there's probably worms and stuff down in that I don't get out, they'll kind of float to the top. And then when you're stirring twice a day, if you see them, you can scoop them out if you want. It'll be okay. It'll all be okay. So we're going to keep filling these. You can use pears. I'll put in some pear in here. Let's get that out. And just do a pear vinegar. So any fruit basically is the same. This is how you would make it. So if you're making a pear vinegar, they had pears. So I also keep knives. So, and see how the pears kind of have something going on there. I just kind of get out the main part of that. Maybe a little bit of that at the center. You're putting in seeds, stems. It doesn't matter. All of it goes in. And if you want to mix the pears, and I mix them too. It just adds a different little subtle flavor if you add a pear or two. And like I say, you can make just straight pear. You could also make straight pear, straight apple, and then after it's done, you can combine them. But just whatever you want to do. So that looks like it's got little wormy stuff, so I'll do that. Then just chop it. And you're just chopping it to get more surface space around, okay? So it, once again, doesn't have to be perfect. Let's grab these apples. Now, if you don't have apple trees, which mine are small, so I get very few apples, look around to see if your neighbors have trees. You shouldn't be buying apples to do this. This is just free stuff. Now, if it's got a bad spot, you know, like this, I'll chop it off. And I'm not too picky, and it's, you know, I could have done it closer and saved more apple. They're free apples. It doesn't matter. In fact, he's got more on the tree. If I run out of this, then, okay. So this one obviously has bird poop. So I'll just kind of rinse that part off. You know, I didn't even get the whole thing. Just kind of get burnt, just a little water. It'll be okay. You're making a vinegar, and before it gets to the vinegar state, it goes through the alcohol state. So first you're going to come up with a hard cider. So you go through the fermenting, which makes it a hard cider, then to a high alcohol, and then to the vinegar. So it'll kill off any bugs or anything that's going through there. You don't need to worry. So anyway, if you don't have your own trees, go look at your neighbors. My neighbors are elderly, so they planted these trees years and years and years ago. They got, you know, 85 or so years old. They were tired of doing apples and stuff, so they're always like, come pick our trees. And now they've gotten old enough where they've moved into a nursing home. So now, you know, this daughter are like, come pick the apple trees because she's not picking them. So you will find people who have apple trees. If it's not your direct neighbor, like mine, then just look on Facebook, your marketplace, or your community boards, and see if anyone has it. If no one's advertising, just ask, hey, does anyone have apple trees that I can come pick from? You know, and tell them that, you know, a lot of these came off the ground. You don't care picking them off the ground. But you should be able to find free trees. And once you find the free apples one year, then you know each year you can go. Last year, for some reason, my neighbor's apple trees didn't do as well last year's. And they go in cycles. So make sure you have more than one source that you can do this. Because my neighbors really, I mean, they had some, but not a lot. But someone on our community Facebook page said, hey, I've got this apple tree. Does anyone want to come pick? Well, yes. And we picked, oh my gosh, these orange buckets. What are those 5-gallon buckets from, you know, Home Depot or Lowe's or wherever you go? I think we picked like 15 buckets worth, and we left apples. People will want you to come get their trees. They like having the fruit trees, but they can get all of a sudden out of hand. So look around. Church is a good place also to say, hey, does anyone have? In fact, when I was getting ready to do my neighbor's tree, I called some people at church and said, hey, I'm going to go pick. Do you guys want to come? Because there's plenty of apples for everybody. So other people came pick too. Just share the wealth. Now, I will say, you know, on the people that I get trees from or get apples from, well, they're not in a nursing home. But before that, the other years, I would like bake bread and take over to them and, you know, just to thank them. So, and we always cleaned up more so it didn't leave it a mess. So just do that if you're getting other people's. You can also just look on the side of the road. There are a lot of times there are trees growing that aren't in people's yards and stuff. So do that. Okay, so we have this now. It's 3/4 full or whatever. I don't pack them in. I just do that. Then put in the sugar. Oh, I'm going to put in, this is a 1/2 cup. So I put in my cup of sugar. I'm going to use this other kind too. This is left over from last year. I went out and bought special. I thought, my gosh, I can just get the one at the grocery store. So 1/2 cup. So that's a cup of sugar. Now, when I start my water, I always leave 2 jars empty, because by the time you start adding water to the ones that you finished, you'll have plenty of water. You need to have some extra room to move stuff. So comes up to there. Just have I use a wooden stir and just stir it in. You're going to stir it twice a day, just like in the morning and night. If you miss a day, don't get too excited. You do want to push the apples so they go underneath the water, because the sugar's in that water, and that's going to help preserve them and keep them from, rotting or getting mold on them. So push them down, stir it up. It's not a lot to stir it. Well, if you get a lot of jars like me, but it's still not that much. So just do that, push them down, give it a stir. Then I cover it. Like I say, this is just cheap coffee filter. You do whichever. Put this on. If you don't have these kind of jars, or if you don't have someone who can cut your top off, because you want it to breathe. So don't put a sealed lid on it. You want it to breathe. You want it to bubble. It can still do that exchange of different things. I'm going to move this over. If you don't have someone who has that capability to cut those lids, like I showed you, where's another lid? To, cut the lid so you have an opening. Then all you have to do is just don't use a lid. Use, like a rubber band. So this one, because this is from my milking. That's where that's from. From my milking, my goat milking thing. So I don't want to use a solid lid, so I just put a rubber band, and it's great. So that is it for here, let me move all this out of the way so I can move this back over. What I'm going to do is I'll pop on, let me turn this around so we can, get it right there. So I've got it marked. All of them are the same. I just have to mark the one. And you can use stickers or whatever, or lay a piece of paper, by it, so you just remember. Stir it twice a day for 2 weeks. Then we're going to just let it sit and do nothing for 2 weeks. For 4 weeks. We don't stir it. We just let it sit. Then on October 30th, we will strain whatever's in here, and then that will go in to just sit like what's in my bottles I showed you earlier. I'm going to just pop on like once a week to show you what's going on. Because right now you're like, nothing's going on. It's just this, which is true. So after this, I'm going to pop on once a week so you can keep track what's going on, how to do it, and what yours should kind of look like. I do not add vinegar to mine. Some people add, part of that vinegar. Let me pull that back out. Let me get you there. So I'm not spinning you. Here we go. Okay. It's got a lot in the bottom. You will have a lot in the bottom, but it's not a mother. It's just the good stuff. You just shake it up. And if it is the mother, that's okay too. You can just take it out. So it's not going to look like your clear vinegar like you guys are used to seeing. Okay? It's going to look like that. Some people will take a splash of that and add it to this to give it a kickstart. I have never done that. And some people say, that way you can make sure you get a mother. I've done this. This is my 3rd year. I've never had trouble getting a mother or getting the SCOBY. It just does work. So I will see you in a week, and I'll show you the progress that this is making. I got to keep doing this. You guys don't need to see me chop and fill all these jars. So you guys have a great day, and I will see you later. Bye.